Okay, good evening. It's maybe a little bit shorter than usual because Chabad invited me to something that they have there, so I will go there after that. Anyway, we are in Parashat Yitro, and in Parashat Yitro starts with a visit of Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, and there is his famous advice. I just want to mention that some say that the reason that the Torah describes the visit and the advice of Yitro before Matan Torah, before the giving of the Torah, is to teach you that the general human intelligence or wisdom you can learn from non-Jews. And something that is not against the Torah or against the Halakha, if you have a good advice from someone who is not Jew, like Yitro, with good intention, of course you can get it. Not all the wisdom is inside the Jewish people. That's maybe one of the messages. There are many things that we can learn from others, like also the Gemara says, "Chochma bagoyim ta'amin." If you find wisdom among the goyim, you can believe it's true and you can adapt it. And that's the reason that the story of Yitro is before Matan Torah, right? Like in Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. Yeah, and the advice of Yitro is very famously about seeing Moshe Rabbeinu teaching Torah Am Israel all the day, from the morning to the evening. And he said, you cannot do that. You will be buried alive. In parentheses, there is a big discussion if the story of Yitro is really happened before the giving of the Torah or after. And some of the arguments that it was after is that fact that Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm teaching Torah Am Israel, but what Torah if the Torah wasn't given yet? So some say there are some details that were given before, but so again, so the story was, as everybody knows, Yitro comes, he sees Moshe teaching from the morning to the evening, and he say, you can do that, you should choose people that will help you. Now, I want to, many times the wisdom or the lessons are in the details, to see exactly what was the conversation between Moshe and Yitro. So the Torah says that Yitro asked Moshe, what are you doing to the people? And I want to read the answer of Moshe, and after that, the advice of Yitro. It says, Vayomer Moshe lechotno. Moshe said to his father-in-law, Ki yavo elai ha'am lidrosh Elokim. The people come to me now the word lidrosh Elokim, it's a little bit hard to translate, and it's not very clear what does it mean. The people come to Moshe for what? Lidrosh is require or demand, or we can say maybe ask. Ask for God. So what does it mean, ask for God? Maybe ask Torah, Halacha, guidance, or other stuff. It's a first question that we should discuss. And then Moshe add another thing. Ki yeh lahem davar ba elai. If they have an issue, they come to me, or the thing is coming to me. Now, this is other than lidrosh Elokim, or is the same? It looks like another thing. First, they come lidrosh Elokim. Then, if they have something, an issue, this issue come to me, v'shafatati ben ishu ben re'eu, and I will judge between the people. So we understand that this davar, this thing that comes to me, meaning some kind of dispute, of conflict between people that I have to resolve. It looks very different from lidrosh Elokim. It's not to look for God or to require, to demand God, it's to resolve our problem. So this is another thing. And then there is a third thing, ve'oda'ati, and I will teach or I will let people know et chukei Elokim ve'torotav, the laws of God and His Torot, and His Torah. And again, the question is it different from the former one or the same? Meaning, they ask me, we have a judge, we have a conflict, and I will tell them, listen, the Torah says that in this conflict, you have to pay him, or you don't have to pay him. So meaning, Chukei Elokim ve'torotav is in regard to what he has to judge between the people, or maybe when people come to require God, meaning the first part, I'm teaching them the Torah. So it also can be understood. And all of that in the level of simple understanding of Moshe. Anyway, just again, the words here, Moshe said to Yitro asked him, what are you doing all day long with the people, and Moshe tells him three things. These three things may be three different things, or some way united, or two, or one. There are different ways to understand, but what are the three things? The three things is to require Hashem, lidrosh Elokim, to judge in conflicts between people, and to teach Torah. These are the three things that Moshe was doing with Am Yisrael. Now, Yitro, I skipped some of the verses. Yitro told him, you're not able to do that. It's impossible. You cannot do all of that. You will navol tibol. Libol is, after the flower is flourishing, is dying.
Wilt.
What?
Wilt.
Wilt.
W-I-L-T.
W-I-L-T. Wilt. Okay. That. You are going to wilt. You are not be able to do that for a long time. And here there is a question that I will answer maybe in the end, but didn't Moshe understand that for himself? Did he need Yitro to tell him, you are not able to do all of that for 600,000 men, right? We have another women and children and all, more than a million people. Do you think you are alone able to judge between million people? Try to imagine all the cases in Edmonton. It's about million people in Edmonton, right? All the cases in Edmonton come to one person that has to resolve all the neighbors' conflicts and the schools and everything, and to teach them also, all the city, to teach them Torah, and if they are required to go, to give them the answer. Moshe didn't understand that it's impossible for one person to do all of that. What did he think in that moment? Anyway, Moshe, so Yitro told him, it's impossible for you, and then he gives him the advice. He says, "Ehyeh ata la'am mul ha'elokim." You should be for the people in front of Hashem. "Ve'heveta ata et hadvarim el ha'elokim." You should bring the things in front of God. What things he should bring in front of God? From the three things that we mentioned before, or that's something new? The thing, so the discussions the things are going to continue coming to him, apparently, or some of the things should still come to Moshe, and he should bring them to Hashem. So it's maybe the conflict between the people, or it might be what we say in the beginning, when the people come, lidrosh Elokim, to ask for God, then you should bring these things to Hashem, maybe. And then he continues, ve'izharta ethem, you should warn them on the laws and the Torah. Why to warn? Moshe didn't mention warning. He said, ve'odati, I should teach them. And here he says, ve'odata lahem et haderech, you should teach them the way, but you should warn them about the laws. You see the difference here in the words, or just in the words, right? I'm just reading. Yeah, so it's something that it looks like that. To warn is that be careful, right? There can be consequences to your decision. So what exactly you should warn them about? And Moshe didn't say that he was doing that before. Anyway, Yitro told him, you should warn them about the Torah, and you should teach them the way. ואת המעשה אשר יעשו. שכחתי להגיד לך, תחזור הביתה, התפללנו כבר. שכחתי. אוקיי. והזהרת היטב את החוקים ואת התורות, והודעת על ידיך שילכו בה, ואת המעשה אשר יעשו. Now, in the next verses, he told Moshe, and then you should name people that will be judged. Okay, so this is, again, the verses, there are some differences between what Moshe said is doing, and what Yitro told him he should do. Now, let's see how the Mefarshim goes. So even Ezra goes, we are going to see some Mefarshim in the Pshat. השיב Moshe answered Yitro, אני עושה שני דברים. I'm doing two things. First, כי יבוא אל העם לדרוש אלוקים, והטעם לדרוש תורתו. So לדרוש אלוקים meaning when people want to learn Torah, not because any kind of conflict or any kind of need, they want to learn Torah. והדבר השני, כי אליהם דבר בא אליי, when they have a conflict. והשיב על האחרון תחילה, ושפטתי בין איש ובין רעהו, והודעתי את חוקי אלוהים לדורש. Meaning, he said, we should read the verse in different ways than what I read before. It said, Moshe said there are two requirements from the people, two demands. The first demand is to learn Torah, which is in the word Yidrosh Elokim. The second demand is to judge between people. כי יהיה להם דבר בא אליי. Moshe said, I'm doing these two things, starting from the second. ושפטתי בין איש ובין רעהו, I'm judging them when they are coming with a conflict. והודעתי את חלקם ולגים את תורותיו, and I also teach them the Torah. So why did they change the order? It's not very clear why. Maybe it was more common. Anyway, this is the Ibn Ezra. Rabban goes in other direction and he says something interesting. He says, all of that is maybe relevant in the question, when do you see a big rabbi? What do you ask him? What do you want from him? Blessing, teaching, and resolving conflicts. Right? This is usually what rabbis do, especially if they are important rabbis. Right? So it's interesting. So even as I said, people come to the rabbi or to Moshe Rabbeinu to learn Torah and to resolve the conflicts. Ramban adds something else. כי יבוא אל העם לדרוש אלוקים להתפלל על חוליהם ולהודיע מה שיאבד להם. What is לדרוש אלוקים according to Ramban? It's not to learn Torah, it's when they ask Moshe Rabbeinu to pray for their sick. Do we know an example that Moshe prayed for a sick?
Yeah.
For his sister, for Miriam. El na refa nala. Short tefillah. So apparently not only Miriam. People, according to Ramban, came to Moshe to pray for their people that are sick. Like we are doing on Shabbat, and we are saying the Misheberach. So all the people standing in a line, not that I'm comparing myself to Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's the same. We are asking to pray for the sick, and more, להודיע מה שיאבד להם. If they are losing something, they're asking Moshe where I lost my iPad, for example. What for that to go to Moshe Rabbeinu? What does it need to require? We have stories. That's what Ramban say, כי זה יקרא דרישת אלוקים, וכן יעשו עם הנביאים, כמו שאמר לפנים בישראל, כה אמר איש בלכתו לדרוש אל לקום, לכו בנלכה לדבר. So Ramban brings the story of Shaul. When Shaul, before he became king, it says that he lost the donkeys, the she-donkeys of his father, and he went to look for them, and he didn't find. And the guy that was with him, his servant, told him, here, the prophet is here, let's go to ask God where the she-donkeys are. So what we see from that people used to ask the prophet for personal needs. That Hashem will tell them. And this is called Lidrosh Elokim. He brings other examples that I didn't bring here, that people came to ask for sick people or to know what to do. For example, the story of Rivka. When Rivka was pregnant and he wasn't understanding what's going on, she went to ask God. Yeah, so she went to ask God. It says that she had to ask God. So meaning, Lidrosh Elokim, according to Ramban, it's all the things that they are believing in the power of Moshe, his connection with Hashem, to resolve the personal problems. Okay, starting from not finding stuff and ending in praying for sick people. All this is called Lidrosh Elokim, and they came for that from Moshe Rabbeinu. The second one, ועוד שאני שופט אותם, כי יהיה להם דבר בא אליי בשפטתי. So that's what he said, the second one, I'm judging in conflicts, ועוד אני מלמד אותם תורה, והודעתי להם את חוקי האלוקים ואת תורותיו. So, and then when Yitro told him the answer, he said exactly the same thing. היה אתה לעם ולאלוקים להתפלל אליו. So you are the one who's keep praying for the people. It's still coming for you for that. והזהרת אתם את החוקים ואת התורות, ותודיע להם את הדרך שילכו בה על פי התורה והמצווה, שתזהירם אתה מאוד, ותלמדם התורה והמצוות. הודע לו גם מה שאמר, והודעת לך כאן בתורתיו, גם בזה יצא להזהיר אותם מאוד, לעטור אותם במצוות ובעונשם, אחרי שלא עושהו בהם את הדין. Meaning, he said, also the second rule of teaching Torah, it depends on you, and not only you have to teach them, you have to warn them, to do the Torah properly. So according to Yitro, according to Ramban, these first two jobs, Moshe should keep doing them. Only Moshe. And what about the rest? And the rest, אבל במשפט, about judging between conflicts, אשר שאמרת ושתי בין איש ובין רעהו, שים לך שופטים ממך, כי כבד ממך דבר המשפט יותר מן הכל. The only thing that Moshe needed help is in judging, in resolving the conflicts. Resolving the conflicts is too much for one person. וטוב לך ולהם להקל מעליך ונשאו איתך. That's the reason. So it's interesting to see that to learn Torah and to have personal blessing is better directly from Moshe. And other stuff you can go also to other people. So this is Ramban. Another explanation, and with that explanation you're going to see all the pshat, all the simple understanding before going a little bit deeper. השיבים משה שלושה דברים. This is a כתב הקבלה. And he says, כי דרכי השם נחלקים לשלושה. דרכי השם meaning the ways of Hashem. What does it mean, way of Hashem? Means how we connect with Hashem. What are the ways of worship? What are the obligations that we have in our spiritual life? So the first one is the Torah and the mitzvot. To learn Torah and to do mitzvot. The second, ben adam lechavero. So we have the mitzvot that we are doing between us and Hashem, and the second is the behavior with other people. These are two parts of the worship of Hashem. So you cannot worship Hashem only in Bet HaKnesset. You have to also do that in your work or in your family or with your friends. You should know how to be a mensch, be a good person, and it's part of Avodat Hashem. Now the third one is the interesting one. דרכי בעבודת השם והמוסר שהם שלמות העבודה. Meaning you can do everything, but it won't be perfect. It won't be in high level. So it's not important only what you're doing, but also how you do that. The how is also important, also part of the worship in the third part. What is the part? What is the how? והוא לעשות אותה מאהבה ומיראה. The two parts, two ways that you have to serve Hashem, to worship Hashem, are with love to Him and fear of Him. It's two things that we spoke a lot in the class of Mesilat Yesharim and also here, meaning this has two basic attitude towards the mitzvot. I'm doing that because I love Hashem and I want to please Him, I want to make Him happy. And also I do that because I fear of Him. I not fear of the punishment. It's the reverence that I have towards His awe. I won't dare to do something against His will because He's so great and wonderful and amazing. How can I dare? How dare I do something against His will? So it's not only that I'm doing the mitzvot, I should do that with that feeling of love and feeling of awe. And that's what he says. כי אף על פי שהתורה והמצוות עצמם אהובים וטובים לפני השם מאוד. Even though purely making the mitzvot, it's beloved and good. כמו שכתוב, לעולם יעסוק אדם שלא לשמה. He said, the Gemara says that the person should do even if he doesn't feel connection, if he doesn't feel, or even if he has other interests, he should do anyway. And then, B'ezrat Hashem, he will arrive to the higher level. But it's not the perfection. It's not the perfect way to do. מכל מקום, שלמות העבודה, the perfection of worship, it's when it's done in a way of love and fear. ופרטיהן רבים מאוד. There are many details how to do that. So, he said, the Torah and mitzvot, also there are many details, but basically you can more or less know what you have to do. But how to do that in the perfect way, these are many details. How to do that really will express or reflect your love and awe to Hashem. There are many details how to do that in any situation, etc. So for that, ועל זה נאמר קדושים תהיו, כמו שאתה רמב"ן שם, וגם צריך לכל אחד ואחד פרטים רבים. It's interesting how he described it, because is it a lot to learn all the laws of the Torah? To know all the halachot, it's a lot? It looks like that. There are people that are learning in yeshiva years and years. And I can tell about myself. I learned quite a few years. And still, people ask me questions, sometimes on simple details, and I must look. I tell them, I return to you, I must look again. So, there are many details. It's really hard to know all the details. But, on the other side, I remember once, I learned with someone that made tshuva, and he decided that he wanted to start keeping Shabbat. So I said, okay, let's see what, I thought, okay, let's make a class and see what you have to keep. And we go through things, very few. He already know he cannot drive a car, everybody knows the thing that religious people do on Shabbat. So he knows the basic, he knows. What are so many details that you have to learn? I didn't find so much thing to teach him in the basic. it's what I'm saying now, it's against the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah said, if you don't learn Halachot Shabbat, you will, every Shabbat you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
But I think the past, it was harder than today. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, to be a religious person, let's say, to know the basic halachot, it's not so much. I mean, it's basically you have to know, you have to pray, you have to say brachot. Okay, generally, the basic knowledge is not so extended. If you want to go really, really serious, you have to learn more and more, and all the time there are things to learn. So it's not so much, but do that perfectly with all your heart, like the Mesilat Yesharim says, this is require learning, not only of the details of what to do, but how to do that and how to arrive to a place when you are doing things out of love and awe. And this is something that the Shkar Kabbalah says, it's require a lot of teaching, a lot of learning. And that's why Moshe answered the three things. וזה שאמר משה על הגימל, כי יבוא אליי העם לדרוש אלוקים, שידע כל אחד הכללים והפרטים ופרטי פרטיהם של כל אחד ואחד. So he said, the last part that Moshe answered is related to the first, to that one. I mean, the first answer of Moshe is related to the last part that he says here. לדרוש אלוקים is not only to know the halachot, but to know the how, the love and the fear. And this was Moshe said first because it's the most demanding part. ועל הבית, and the other, as we know, ועל הבית שבן אדם לחברו אמר כי אלה דבר בא אליי ושפטתי בין איש ובין רעהו, so that בן אדם לחברו is to judge between people, ועל האלף, to know the Torah and the mitzvot, and he said in the end, והודעתי את חוקי האלוהים, etc. Now here, okay, I think I will skip that. I just say that it's also very personal. To make things out of love and out of awe, it's different from person to person. And each one has his own path, his own way of the worship of Hashem. And for that, Moshe Rabbeinu had to answer each and every one of them. You should go and do that and that. This is your way to do. I'll just read and translate without explaining too much. And the ways of the worship and the musar, the ethics of each and every person, it wasn't revealed it was revealed only to Moshe directly from Hashem, because that depends in the heart, and Hashem knows the heart. And that's what he says, lidrosh Elokim. According to that, lidrosh Elokim, meaning, what does it mean to look for God, to seek God, meaning to see how God is connected to me, to my personal life. This is the לדרוש אלוקים. שהוא חושב את האלוקים בדברו עם כל אחד ואחד לתקן דרכיו. So when Moshe Rabbeinu spoke with each and every one of the people, he understood how he will be able to connect to Hashem. ולהשגת שלמות העבודה, שיעשה את המצוות מצד היראה והאהבה, כמה מן הדרישה והשתדלות צריכה. And to really arrive to the perfection, to do the mitzvot from love and fear, this is something that it needs a lot of efforts, a lot of drisha והשתדלות, like it says, Mishlei, etc. Okay. There is a little bit more. He says how Yitro answered him. I will skip that. I will skip that because I want to arrive to Rav Kook here. And Rav Kook says something interesting, I think, that answers some of the questions that I mentioned in the beginning. I will also answer, I will repeat the question for a second. We ask if the things are the different things or one thing. Until now, we saw all the Mefarshim said there are different things. Each one of them is different. And second, the second question I ask is, didn't Moshe understand that by himself, that he needs help, that he can do that? So these are two questions that I want to see. And he says something more general. He says, מרכז החיים של נשמת ישראל במקור הקודשי. He says, the center of the life of the soul of Israel is, the source of it is the holiness, the Kodesh. Meaning, we are coming from the holiness. This is how we were created. דרך אמת ואמונה נולדנו, ובה אנחנו מתגדלים. We were born with true and faith, אמת ואמונה, like we say in the תפילה. אין בנו ערכים פרודים, האחדות שוכנת בנו, ואור השם אחד חי בקרבנו. I will explain this next sentence. I just want to say before, of course, Rav Kook was in love in Am Israel. We really, really appreciate every Jew and every person, and he saw the light. It's important to remember in this time was all the people that left the Torah, and they were the chalutzim, the pioneers that built the land of Israel, but most of them, they left the Torah. And he found the good part of them, even though they didn't do anything, and even they hated the Torah sometimes, and sometimes had conflicts. So he tried to educate them as much as he could, but he didn't say, because of that, I don't want any connection with them. He knew how to sow the light. And that's what he say also here, is that there is something special in the soul of Am Israel. And we don't have separate, and now this sentence says, we don't have separate value. The union dwell in us, in ourselves, and the light of Hashem Echad, of one God, live inside us. What does it mean? It means that it's in reality, or in we don't always see that, but deep in ourselves, we don't have separation between holiness and chol. We say chol, not holy, secular. We don't have separation between these two things. The two things are together. And also when you are doing parts that are not related directly to the Torah and the mitzvot, they can be done in a holy way or related somehow to the holiness. And that's the reason that everything, it's the union, the achdut, how do you say, unity of God lives inside our soul, even though many times we don't see that. How do we see that? We see that with the learning of the dinim. Dinim are the laws of between people, meaning I would say all the things that are related to money, to damage that you're doing to each other, to conflicts between people. What does it mean that it's reflected in that? I read the sentence and I try to explain. It says the adinim, the laws of the Torah of the living God differentiate us from any others, or separate us from any other nation. So usually the laws of the conflicts between people, let's say I had a business with you and we have a discussion who is right and who is wrong. I mean, if you owe me money, you don't owe me money. Usually this is what we call the civil law. This is something that is related to law that we should establish in a country, how we resolve discussions about money, or how do we resolve discussions about business relationship. So if the contract says that, it should be that way. If the contract says other thing, it should be another way. And we have the lawyers and we have the judge. It's not a religious issue. If we're looking on other religions, it's not you're not going to the priest, you're going to the judge, which are two different separate rules. But in Judaism, even though today we don't have the authority, but it's the law of God, meaning if you have a conflict with your neighbor about where the line between the yards should pass, God has the answer. You don't ask the judge, you ask God, meaning what the Torah says. How the Torah, someone wrote here something. Oh, it reminds what Agam Berger wrote when she was released. I don't know what she wrote. Okay, yeah, you cannot speak?
Yeah, I can. When she was released in the helicopter, she wrote בדרך אמונה בחרתי, בדרך אמונה שבתי.
Yeah, so this is the what we saw before. The verse that, wait, how do I take it down? Yeah. דרך אמת ואמונה נולדנו. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say here, what Rav Kook's trying to say here, that the fact that the laws that come to organize the relationship between people is part of the Torah. We have Parashat Mishpatim, and we have the Gemara of Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Batra, all the Babot are about that. And there are Bachurei Yeshivot that are learning day and night what's going to happen if your cow was replaced with my donkey, and what's happened if she was giving birth and not giving birth. Many laws that are about things that look very not religious. It's not how to pray. It's not how to sacrifice something in the Beit HaMikdash. Or it's not how to, I don't know, to give offer to the Kohen. It's how to resolve the problem that I had with my neighbor or my partner last week. And this is Torah. This is holy. Meaning the secular and the holiness are united. And this is something that is really special about the Jewish religion, because as far as I know, in other religions, it's not like that. The Sharia, I don't think that the Sharia is there is a law. Maybe I don't know. I don't think they have laws about business relationship. It's not allowed to take interest. I know that, but if you have conflict about a contract that you sign with your neighbor, or if the dog of your neighbor bite your cat. So I don't know if it's a religious matter. Maybe they adapted that from us. But for sure, the first one who relates the two things are the Judaism. I will skip a little bit. It says, "Lo ken b'Yisrael bechol drachecha da'eu." There is a verse in Mishlei that says you should know God in all your ways. What does it mean in all your ways? In all the parts of your life, you can find God. The way you dress, the way you're doing business, the way you are even making sport, everything is related because we have one soul, one united, the unity of the soul. שהיא פרשה כתונה שכוללת כל גופי תורה. The Gemara says about this verse that it's small parasha, it's a small portion of the Torah that include all the Torah. What does it mean that this small parasha include all the Torah? It means that this principle comes to say that בכל דרכיך דהו, in all your ways, in all the aspects of your life, you can know God, you can be connected with God. שיוצאת אל הפועל ביחידי סגולה, נחלת הכלל היא באמת. כל שאיפת החיים וכל חפץ החיים, הקניין ותשוקותיו, העושר והכבוד, הממשלה וההתרחבות בישראל, ממקור הקודש הם נובעים. It says, all the aspirations of life, the desire of life, the property, קניין, is the thing that you have, and its desires, the wealth and the honor, the government and the expansion of Israel, it's come from the source of Kodesh. And said that he says that's the reason that the משפטים הם קודש קודשים בישראל. That all the laws of judgment between people are קודש קודשים. And again, I didn't bring everything here, but there is a midrash that says that the Torah is like an important lady that has like her clothes before and after. I don't know how it was, but it was, like the dress of a bride. So the important ladies used to go with important clothes before and after. I don't know exactly what is it, but what does it mean? Right after Parashat Yitro, we have Parashat Mishpatim. What is the main issue of Parashat Mishpatim? The Mishpatim, the laws, the civil law. And before it says that Moshe Rabbeinu said and teach Am Yisrael the Mishpatim. And we also say that in Mara, was before Matan Torah, they were in Mara, in a place called Mara, when Hashem taught them the Mishpatim. So before and after Matan Torah, we have the Mishpatim, because this is the main part, the Kodesh Kodeshim, the holiness of the Torah. It's not the Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur only, it's also how to judge if someone stole 5 shekel from another person, or $5 even. Okay, now this is a general introduction to what we are going to say about our parasha. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom, בתפסו איתו את כוח המשפט בתחילת יסודו בהמה, העלה את כל ערכי המשפט עד סוף כל הדורות, לאותו התוכן האלוקי שמשפטי ישראל באים אליו, ודרישת אלוהים באה יחדיו עם המשפט הישראלי, כי יבוא אליי העם לדרוש אלוקים, כי יהיה להם דבר בא אליי. I will try to translate. It's a little bit hard to translate Rav Kook. And he says, Moshe Rabbeinu quote or held the power of the mishpat, of the judgment, in the beginning of its establishment in the nation. Meaning, it was important to Moshe Rabbeinu in the beginning of the implementation of the divine law in the life of Am Yisrael to do it himself. It's not that he didn't understand that he cannot do that alone. He understood. And he knew that it's not going to continue like that. Yitro taught him how to do that exactly, Sarei Alafim, Sarei Meot. But Moshe Rabbeinu didn't think that he can do that forever. But it was important in the beginning to do that. When we start to live according to this law, it must go through Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because he is a direct connection to Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who received these laws, and he should implement them by himself to establish it as in the beginning of its as a national life. And by that, connect for all the generation to come, all these laws to Har Sinai, to our Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what he says here. Moshe Rabbeinu, alav hashalom, when he held the power of the Mishpat in the beginning of its establishment in the nation, elevated all the values of the Mishpat, of the judgment, until the end of all the generation, to this divine content that the laws of Israel comes to it. So this is why the answer to the question that we asked, why Moshe insisted in doing that himself. It was important in the beginning to connect that to Hashem. And then also he explained, I will say that in my words, after that I will read, that what we say, Drishat Elokim, looking for God, seeking for God, is the same thing as Ki Elem Davar Ba'elai, meaning the conflicts that they had between people. Why did they come to Moshe Rabbeinu? Because they wanted to know what Hashem tells you about this case. This is Yidrosh Elokim. Yidrosh Elokim meaning what Hashem wants us to do if we have this kind of conflict. If my ox damage your cow, what Hashem wants us to do. So Am Israel looked for Moshe to resolve the conflicts because they wanted to connect that with Hashem. They wanted Hashem to resolve the conflicts. According to that, this is Drishat Elokim, seeking of God or requirement of God, comes together with the Israeli judgment. Ki yavo elai am yidrosh Elokim. When the people comes to me to look for God, ki elem davar ba elai b'shafatati ben ish uben re'eu. They come to me with their things to judge between people, and by that, ve'odati et chukei Elokim ve'torotav. I teach them the laws of Hashem. So all these three things, according to Rav Kook, are one. People looking for Hashem. People looking for Hashem, and they come to me, and I'm doing that through this process of mishpat, of civil law. ודרישת אלוקים של המשפט נשארה סגולה ישראלית, meaning the looking for God through the judgment. I'm saying judgment, I'm not sure it's the right way to say civil law, through the individual or the personal conflicts. It's stay Israeli character. And he says that, I won't translate that, he says the main place to do that is in Eretz Israel. In Eretz Israel, we have the power of holiness that penetrate to all aspects of life. It's not staying only in the Bet HaKnesset, it's not staying only in the Bet HaMidrash, it's really can be living inside the national life, inside the regular, secular, national life of Am Israel. In Eretz Israel, it can be connected to the source of light, which is the character of the holiness. So I think that this is a nice explanation that also answers some question in the Pshat. Okay, why Moshe insisted and what exactly he was doing. Okay. Any comments or questions? Thank you everybody for joining us. Let's stop.